On Friday the 26th of this month, you'll be asked who you want to be president for the next 7 years, but also on that date, you'll be asked, do you want to remove blasphemy from the Irish Constitution? I'm joined on the line now by John Hamill, who is a spokesperson for Atheist Ireland. John Hamill, good afternoon to you.
Hi Aidan, how are you keeping?
Very well, thank you, and thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme. This referendum isn't getting an awful lot of publicity, it has to be said, so perhaps for the benefit of listeners, define blasphemy for us and explain what people are being asked to do on polling day in a few weeks' time.
Sure, well, I think you're exactly right that it's useful to differentiate blasphemy from some of the other more well-motivated concerns that people have in this area. And I think a good principle to remember is that no person is beneath respect, but no idea is above criticism. So in Ireland today, we have a number of different laws relevant to a principle like that. One is incitement to hatred. So if your speech incites hatred against specific people, including specific people within a religious group, that's already a crime in Ireland. And what blasphemy is criminalising speech about ideas. So if you want to criticise the ideas within any specific religion, not just Christianity, you can blaspheme against any religion in Ireland today and be hauled before the courts. And what we're hoping to do by removing the blasphemy provisions from our constitution is adhere to that principle as described, whereby we can protect people from being attacked, but ensure that ideas are open to criticism.
And of course that's very important in the context of freedom of expression and free speech. But regarding blasphemy, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong in this regard, the Defamation Act of 2009, Section 36, provides for the statutory outlawing of blasphemy, but also provides a defence for anyone who might engage in it. So while blasphemy is in the Constitution and is also in the statutory law, is it not sufficient that it should be there and left there, provided the defences which are there in Section 36 of the Act are adhered to as well?
There's two reasons to get rid of it. One, in relation to the situation here in Ireland that you refer to. I mean, it's you're correct that it's quite hard to prosecute here in Ireland, and actually there hasn't been a single successful prosecution for blasphemy in Ireland. But one of the reasons for that isn't just the wording in the Defamation Act that you described. One of the reasons is that media outlets self-censor. And so if you have a regional newspaper, and this has happened to me personally, I've agreed to write articles for regional newspapers in Ireland, and they have been censored because no media outlet wants to be hauled through the High Court on a blasphemy charge. And what happens is outlets just censor themselves. But I think much more important than that is our international obligations. So when we launched our campaign, we had an open letter that was written by some dozens of people internationally who have been prosecuted under blasphemy laws in some other countries. So, for example, there's a Christian lady called Asia Bibi who is currently on death row in Pakistan waiting to be executed for blasphemy. Now, when Pakistan tried to justify their blasphemy law in the United Nations and have it adopted as part of international law, they cited the verbatim language from the Irish Defamation Act to do that. And so these international people have asked Ireland to remove our blasphemy law in order not to give cover to other countries who want to retain their blasphemy laws. And, I don't think we should turn our back on people like that, where people like Asia Bibi wants to have free expression to express her Christian ideas in Pakistan. I think she should be allowed to do that without being executed for it. And when Pakistan are trying to justify their position in international law in that regard, they're citing Ireland as best practice. So when you're being cited as best practice in blasphemy laws by Pakistan, you're probably doing something wrong.
And in relation relation to blasphemy itself, is it not necessary as well to protect individuals who are hugely committed to their religion and who may be deeply offended by remarks which constitute blasphemy and which they see as an attack on their religion?
So I would distinguish in that regard between people who are being attacked as people, and we have laws to deal with that. I mentioned the incitement to get to that earlier, and distinguish that from people with hurt feelings. And so I have 4 kids, Aidan. You may be familiar with an expression that parents often explain to their children, which is sticks and stones may hurt your bones, but names will never hurt you.
Indeed.
Now, I think in a democratic modern society, adults should be able to deal with the fact that their feelings have been hurt without dragging someone in front of the courts. So, for example, a couple of years ago, Cardinal Connell on television interview said that atheists are not fully human because they don't believe in Jesus. Now that's hurtful to me, but I don't think the remedy that I should seek for that is to haul Cardinal Connell in front of the High Court and have him prosecuted. I think in a democratic society, people should be able to deal with criticism of their ideas without running off to the courts.
The necessary provision is Article 40, Section 6, Subsection 1, Paragraph 1. But is there the possibility, if this is removed from the Constitution, that there may in fact be unintended consequences? Because that particular provision confers the right of citizens to express freely their convictions and their opinions. And if that's removed from the Constitution, then is there a possibility that it will dilute the freedom of speech?
That's a very good point, Aidan. So there are other provisions within that part of the Constitution. You're exactly right. We had this discussion with officials in the Department of Justice, and to those discussions we brought a person called Professor David Nash, who's an international expert in blasphemy law. And if you look at the other things that are mentioned in that article of the Constitution, there's a list of things that must be prohibited in law. One of them is sedition, for example.
Yes.
So some of the options open to the Department of Justice were to remove that article entirely and replace it with a new one. And we had some discussions about that. But I think wisely what the department has decided to do is just to remove the single word of blasphemy. So if we pass the referendum on the same day as the presidential election, nothing else will change in the Constitution other than we will just delete one single word.
And that's the word blasphemous.
That's right. And then all of the other provisions that you mentioned within that article in the Constitution, for example, sedition, all of those things will remain in the Constitution as activities that must be prohibited by law.
Very good. So in other words, that last sentence within the provision will be amended if the people decide so in a few weeks' time to read the publication or utterance of seditious or indecent matter is an offence which shall be punishable in accordance with law. The word blasphemous is gone.
Yes, we'll just take out that one word, and then we will also amend 2 specific laws. So one of them you already referred to is the Defamation Act. We'll take the blasphemy provision out of the Defamation Act, and the second law is one that people might not be so familiar with, which relates to censorship. So we still have a banned books list, would you believe, in Ireland in 2018. So if we pass this referendum, we'll be no longer able to ban books on the basis that they're blasphemous.
And one final point, John Hamill, are you somewhat disappointed that this particular referendum has garnered no traction at all thus far? There's no word about it at all. Yes, we're dominated now by the presidential election, which is well underway, but this is an important issue. And do you think that people will go to the polling booth and vote in the presidential election but not bother with the referendum, or perhaps not go at all?
Yes, well, firstly, I think you're exactly right, Aidan, that somewhat predictably the issue relating to blasphemy is being drowned out by some of the other issues in the presidential campaign. But really, that's on us in Atheist Ireland. We just have to get our finger out and make sure we publicise the issues. So those are issues like the other people around the world who are victims of blasphemy laws and don't want Ireland to be given cover to their persecutors. So we'll just have to keep working hard and make sure people are aware of those issues.
Very good. We must leave it there. John Hamill from Atheist Ireland, many thanks indeed for joining us on the programme.